This is the video that broke this case open. Agent Reeson was talking to you. So did Matt George yesterday. He was one of the team of DCI agents that was working on this case. And he and Agent Reeson were looking at it. I think it was Agent Reeson that looked away quickly, and Matt George saw the shadow of the jogger go by. But that's what broke this case open. Because remember, before this, what had the agents and the officers been doing? Right? They've been spending several weeks trying to figure out what happened to her. They've been spending several weeks trying to find her. They can't find her. Right? The corn is overhead tall in the fields. They're up against a pretty decent challenge. Law enforcement was here to find this young woman. They've been looking. They've been talking to other people, who we'll talk about here in just a few minutes. But they've been trying to figure out where she went, what she did. They had a little bit of help from the FBI, from Kevin Horan, in trying to locate an area to even search. But think about what they were up against. This is a young woman who really didn't have many enemies, if any. I'm not sure there's any testimony that Mollie was disliked by anyone. She's a sweet young woman, right? She's what they called a low-risk victim. No drug history, no domestic violence, nothing of that nature. Right? This was a tough one to crack, to figure out. Who was this? Who would do this to her? Right? They looked at other people. But this video, when they had it, okay? A clue came in. A lead came in. Now they had a vehicle that they could associate with the area where Mollie would normally run and within very close proximity to when she passed through. This was the car, and this car belonged to Cristhian Bahena Rivera, the defendant. That's what got them there. Now, I want to break for just a second and talk about, just briefly, this man's testimony yesterday. Right? All of a sudden now we have these two men, right? He gets up and gives us this different version of what happened. You know what the problem is with it? It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't fit. The video evidence here refutes his testimony. He said that he and two men passed her running, going into town, right? Out on 385th. They were going into town whenever she was running. That's when he said they saw her. How in the video shows the defendant on East Des Moines seconds after she passes through. Not out on the county road. Whoops. He didn't think about that. Right? We've got him in town, in his vehicle, whenever she passes by, within 30 seconds. Think about that. Right after she passes by, there is no way he could have passed her on the outskirts of town and seen her for the first time. He saw her for the first time whenever he saw her in town. That's what the video shows. He cannot be two places at once. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Whenever he gets up on the stand and whenever he testifies and gives you this new story, these additional facts that he never told police, you can judge that the same as you do any other witness. You can scrutinize it. You can look at other evidence that we have in the case. And you know what it doesn't fit with? It doesn't fit with that video. Continuing about the video, what happened before the video was looked at and before they went out to the farm to talk to him. So they had the video. Officers were looking at it. Agents Reese and George, they passed that along to other officers in the case, right? They're trying to figure out, they don't know, whenever they see that video and see that car with those distinctive features, with the chrome mirror, with the chrome handles and the spoked wheels, they don't know that it belongs to Cristhian Bahena Rivera. They don't know that, right? They can't associate it. There's black Malibus. It's a common vehicle, right? So they're looking. They have a lead, and they're chasing it, and they're trying to figure out who is this person that is passing by in the area where Mollie Tibbetts is believed to be running. Who is it? We got to figure this out. Who is this person that keeps going by, right? Multiple times between 7:46 and 8:07. Who is this person? We got to try to figure this out. Well, they did. Steve Kibbe, who's a police officer, who's a deputy sheriff with the Poweshiek County Sheriff's Office, is driving August 14th, right? He's driving after this video has been seen. August 16th, I believe, is driving this video, and whenever he knows the information, he knows what the car looks like, and you know what he sees? He sees this vehicle. This is a picture taken from the night that he encountered the defendant in Malcolm. Remember, Malcolm is a town that is just north of I-80 in Poweshiek County. And Steve Kibbe that evening sees this vehicle, and it's like zeroed in on it, right? Why? Because it has distinctive features. It has the chrome mirrors, chrome handles, the spoked wheels, but it was mainly those chrome mirrors that drew his attention, and it was black. And so he pulls, actually, if you recall the testimony, Officer Deputy Kibbe was behind the Malibu whenever he was ahead of the Malibu whenever he pulled off of the road and then let it pass, and then followed it, got to an alleyway, used an interpreter, and he found this vehicle with those features, and who was driving? The defendant, by himself, alone. Had to use a resident there who spoke Spanish to try to communicate with him, asked him a few questions, denied anything. First story, by the way, that the defendant tells about anything about Mollie Tibbetts when he's asked, denies. Denies, denies. Doesn't know anything about her. So now, police have a potential suspect, and this man that you see here on the right is the same guy that's sitting here in the courtroom. The defendant admits he's the sole person who uses the Malibu, and then a plan is put together in order to try to take him in or bring him in and interview him to try to gain some information. Right? The police still don't know. Is he connected? Maybe. His car's in the area. Now we know who it is. We need to talk to him. They're going to follow the evidence. They're going to follow the lead. So that's what they do. So the video here proves what? It proves the identity of the defendant, the vehicle that he's in. He later admits that was his car, and his proximity to Mollie Tibbetts. So the video and the admissions of the defendant place him in Brooklyn within seconds of Mollie's sighting that we saw on the video. So why is that important? It is important because he is in the area within seconds. It fits with the evidence in this case. It fits with him having the opportunity to see her, to notice her, right? You can look at the picture of Mollie Tibbetts. She is a cute 20-year-old young woman. He likes her. He sees her. She's in tight clothing as she's jogging. She's in a jogging bra and spandex-type shorts as she's jogging down the road. That's what got his attention. That should be patently obvious. So the video, the first component that puts these two people, that puts the defendant together with Mollie Tibbetts, is the video. It's really irrefutable. And it is the thing, the piece of evidence, the lead that the police followed that broke this case and led them to more evidence and more evidence that the defendant was the one who committed Mollie Tibbetts' murder. So component number one. The second component to this is the interview of the defendant. Several days passed, there was a weekend in between, and officers made a plan. They got some help from federal partners in Homeland Security. They got other officers from DCI, and the plan was to go out to Yerby Farms and make an attempt to not only talk to the defendant, but talk to anybody else or make contact with anyone else who may have information or be a witness in this case, anybody that they can talk to. So they did. They found, on August 20th, they found the defendant working. If you recall, what the evidence is in the case is that he had driven, they also wanted the black Malibu, I would tell you. That's what the evidence is here too. He was driving another car on August 20th, a Nissan Altima, that he had driven. He was also in another building from where the officers were, so they had to find him. It didn't take long, and they did locate him. And so they get the cars. They also talk to him. They get consent to bring the Malibu in. His consent was given, and the Malibu was brought into the sheriff's office to be examined by a crime scene team. So, but what they did then was they then take him to the sheriff's office. All right, so we've already had one story, one version out of the defendant, right? Whenever Steve Kivy encountered him in the alley up in Malcolm just a few days before, he denied any knowledge of Mollie Tibbetts, denied knowing anything about it, other than seeing it on the news and knowing that she was missing. This was obviously a very high-profile matter and a very high-profile investigation, and so he claims to have known about it. All right, so then what do we have? We now have the defendant's, what eventually becomes a confession. Confessions in Iowa need to be corroborated in order to be used as evidence. This confession is corroborated in many ways. So let's look at the defendant's statements to the police. So how did it set up? Poweshiek County had used Pamela Romero because she was a native Spanish speaker. She was a police officer at the time in Iowa City. She had prior law enforcement experience with the West Liberty Police Department here in Iowa. She was a native of Mexico. She came here when she was a young girl, when she was 10, immigrated here with her family, and moved to West Liberty. She ended up getting an interest in law enforcement, and she started that career with both West Liberty and with Iowa City. And she was an Iowa City police officer at the time that she was utilized in this case. If you recall, she had been utilized about a month before to help with other Spanish speakers, to help interpret. By the way, something that Officer Romero did quite often was to help interpret, not only for her family, but also in her capacity as a law enforcement officer. So she came to Poweshiek County back in July of 2018 to help with that, and then she came back to then be the person who could talk to the defendant. And doesn't that make sense, to have somebody like her? Why not have her? You know, does she have a ton of experience in law enforcement? No. But she speaks the same language as the defendant. She's a native speaker. Right? She can have a conversation with him. The defendant himself told you yesterday he had no problems understanding her, understanding the questions. There was no confusion. It's the same thing that Officer Romero told you. Whenever they were speaking, it was conversational, and they were able to understand each other. But what happens now in a case, though, whenever we have two native Spanish speakers talking on a video? We would love to show you that, to play it, but we can't. I mean, we would need 12 really native Spanish speakers to come in to be able to understand it. So we have to rely on what Pamela Romero tells us the questions and answers were. You saw her on the stand. She's very well put together. She's soft-spoken. She is pleasant. She was the same exact way with the defendant. And she is able to tell you what the conversation she had, sorry. Have to give them a chance to switch. So she will tell you what the conversation is that she had with the defendant while they were at the Poweshiek County Sheriff's Office. What statements were made and what was said during the interview. So initially, what do we get? We get the same story that the defendant had told Officer or Deputy Kivy in Malcolm days before. He didn't know anything about Mollie Tibbetts' disappearance. Knew that she was missing, had seen posters and flyers, had seen things of that nature, and had seen that in a store. He even, I think he even said that he had maybe come into contact or had seen Dalton, the boyfriend of Mollie. But what does he eventually end up telling the officers? So they go through the interview, right? So it's deny. Then Officer Romero shows the defendant photos of things that we saw similarly in the videos that show the car. He now knows what? Okay, now my car's in the area. Uh-oh. So how am I going to try to explain that one? All right, so he sees his vehicle in the area. She shows him several photos of it, and then he admits, right? He's now confronted with some evidence that puts him in the area. Now his story changes, right? It changes to, okay, yeah, I saw her. She was jogging. And, you know, he even makes a comment about her attractiveness. I think there's some dispute as whether or not she said hot or not. Hot, pretty, whatever it is, right? He is talking to Pamela Romero, Officer Romero, about the way that Mollie Tibbetts appears. All right? Story 2. Okay? First one was to deny. Second one now, when shown evidence that his car is in the area, he now moves to, okay, I saw her. Yeah, I did. That's my car. She's in the area. And he tells the officer. There's several points here as we move through the interview with him. It starts out again with denial. The second one is, I saw her in the area. Then it moves to what? Whenever we get to the field. He confesses to the murder, is what he does. To the confrontation, to taking her, to being the only one, to taking her to the field, to her being bloody, and putting her in the corn. That's what he does. So he admits to observing her and indicates she's attractive. So then what does he then start to tell Officer Romero? He tells her during this interview with her that he admits that whenever he encountered Mollie out on 385th, out on the county road, that she didn't want anything to do with him. She rebuked him, right? Mollie threatened to call the police, right? He did not want that, right? What does that do to him? Makes him angry, right? He admits that. He admits that he became angry. Whenever he gets out of his car, he jogs along with her, he talks to her about that, or talks to Officer Romero about that. Mollie then says, I'm going to call the police, I'm going to call the cops. This makes him mad. She even slaps him. He admits that she slaps him at one point. So there's a physical confrontation between Mollie Tibbetts and the defendant by his own admission. out on 385th, and he becomes angry. A very simple motive in the case, to do someone harm. What does he admit next after this confrontation on the road? He then admits that Mollie is in the trunk of the Malibu, and he also admits that he is alone, and he also admits that Mollie's earbuds are on his lap. Those are earbuds that Dalton Jack purchased for her as a gift. Right? He then admits to that, right? He puts her in the trunk. He starts driving down the road. We have corroboration of that also. We'll talk about here in just a second. But that's what he says happened. Right? He's confronted this girl. He became angry. She's in his trunk. He's telling us that. There's no other two guys. There's nobody else. He doesn't put anybody else in the vehicle. He had every chance to do that. He was asked multiple times, tell us more, help us more. These officers who could protect him. Right? He didn't do it. Right? He didn't tell him. Instead, she's in the trunk. We know he's headed south. He admits that he's alone. He admits the earbuds are there. He admits to going to the cornfield. He admits taking Mollie into the corn, and he admits covering Mollie with corn stalks, and he discarded her, and he left her in the corn after covering her with these corn stalks.